All right, let's jump right into an idea that might just change the way you see, well, everything. The world you perceive, it might not be the world that's actually out there.
Yeah, I know. That's a pretty bold question, right? But it gets right to the heart of this huge philosophical puzzle. What is reality, really? And how much of it are we actually making up ourselves?
I mean, it's kind of our default setting, isn't it? You open your eyes, and there it is, the world. We just trust that what we're seeing and hearing and touching is a direct, unfiltered feed of reality itself. A perfect one-to-one copy. But what if, just what if, our minds are less like a camera recording reality and more like an artist painting a picture of it? That's the huge idea we're digging into today, and believe me, it has some absolutely staggering implications. Now, you might think this sounds like some new agey stuff, but nope. This whole diagnosis of the human condition actually comes from a brilliant 15th century philosopher and theologian, a guy named Nicolaus of Cusa, and he saw a fundamental problem with how we think about knowledge itself.
I mean, think about that. Nearly 600 years ago, Cusa makes this totally radical claim. He argued that what we call knowledge isn't us grabbing hold of some absolute truth. Nope. Instead, he said it's something he called a conjecture.
So here's how he breaks it down. Cusa believed there's just no proportion between the finite and the infinite. Our minds, they're finite tools. Reality, it's infinitely complex. Because of that massive gap, our conclusions are always, by necessity, incomplete. They're basically just very educated guesses, not perfect truths.
Now, this is a great way to visualize Cusa's whole idea. Over on one side, you've got natural forms. That's the world as it actually is, in all its mind-boggling complexity. And on the other side, you've got our measures, the concepts our brains create to try and understand it. Cusa said there's this fundamental gap between them. He called it an epistemic disjuncture. It's this uncrossable divide. We never actually get to the other side. We just make up these abstractions about it.
And that right there is the big shift in thinking Cusa brought to the table. He was riffing on this ancient idea that the human mind, the mens in Latin, is the measure of all things. So we're not just passive sponges soaking up information. Our minds are constantly working, comparing, sorting, abstracting. In other words, they are actively measuring reality to make it fit inside our finite little heads. Okay, so if we're always measuring, how in the world does that actually work? Well, to explain it, Cusa used two really powerful analogies that we're going to explore right now: mathematics and map-making. And these perfectly explain how we build the world we think we know.
So Cusa saw this huge difference between two kinds of knowing. When we look at the natural world, our understanding is always just an approximation. He used this cool image of a polygon inside a circle. You can keep adding sides to the polygon, 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000. It'll get really close to looking like a circle, but will it ever become a perfect circle?
Nope, never.
That's our knowledge of nature. But math is different. It's a world we invented, completely inside our own minds. We made up the rules so we can know it with total, perfect certainty.
And this distinction, it leads us straight to Cusa's absolute best metaphor for human knowledge: making a map. Turns out, Cusa was super passionate about cartography. He even made one of the first modern maps of Central Europe. For him, it was the perfect illustration of what our minds are doing all the time.
Just think about it for a second. A map is not the land, right? It's a symbolic picture of it. It's always made from a specific point of view. The map maker decides what's important to include and what gets left out. And yet it's incredibly useful. You can navigate an entire city with one. But no map could ever capture every single rock, tree, and blade of grass. It'll always be an incomplete, though helpful, conjecture. And for Cusa, all of our science, our philosophy, our entire understanding of everything, it's just like that map. Okay, so if our knowledge is just a map, you might be thinking, well, that's kind of depressing, isn't it? Like it's a limitation. But for Cusa, oh no, he saw something else entirely. He saw that in this very act of creation, this map-making, lies the very essence of what it means to be human. And this is where things get really wild. He basically says that the human mind mirrors the divine mind. While God creates the actual physical world, the natural forms, we create the conceptual world. We're the ones creating languages, mathematics, technologies, all the artificial forms we use to make sense of the whole shebang.
And this completely flipped the script on the whole idea of imago Dei, being made in the image of God. He said it's not about what we look like, it's about our function. Our most godlike quality is our endless creativity, our power to invent the concepts and the maps we live by.
So this leads to his most shocking claim. We are not just spectators watching a pre-made reality. He calls us second gods. We are active participants, co-creators, who are literally building the framework of understanding through which we experience our lives. We are living inside the maps that we ourselves have drawn.
Okay, so a 15th century philosopher had some pretty out there ideas. But why does any of this matter to us, right here, right now? Well, embracing this whole mapmaker mindset can fundamentally change how we navigate our own lives.
Let's just break that down. If everyone is drawing their own map, then disagreements aren't about who's right and who's wrong anymore. They're about people navigating with different maps, and each one is useful from its own perspective. Knowledge stops being something you collect, and it becomes a skill you get better at, the art of constantly improving your maps. And maybe most importantly, it changes how you see yourself. You're not just living in the world, you are actively creating the world you perceive.
So let's put it all together. If the reality that you experience every single day is actually a representation, a useful but totally incomplete guide,
And if you accept that you are the one holding the pen, that you are the cartographer of your own universe,
then the only question that really matters is this. What kind of maps are you creating? Are they big and expansive and helpful, or are they small, limiting, and outdated? Because the power to draw them, that's all yours.